my name's Marina, and I'm from the Birmingham Architectural Association, and we're here today joined by the Birmingham Circular Economy, but I'll let Matt do the introductions in case you guys haven't been to any of our events before. We're a local branch of REBA formed in 1875, so we're quite old, but we're kind of a small committee which shares ideas and tries to put on events and also improve the built environment around us. So if there's anything that you have in mind that you want to do, and just get in touch with us. Our email address is baa@brumarchitecture.com. And all of these events would only be possible with the help and support of our sponsors. So I'll just run you through them now. So there's our patron sponsor, Alamure. All good. Oh God, sorry, technical issues. Outro, Ibstock Brick, Kitchen Gallery, Milliken, Rayners, Taylor Maxwell, and then but some of you will have some of the sponsors are here today, so you might have some of them in the room to talk to you. But before I hand you over to Matt, next week we've got a really exciting series of Women in Architecture mini-series, and also exhibiting our usual exhibition, which celebrates our colleagues and their projects in the local area. We've got on Monday, we've got a, sorry, my slideshow skills are really not that great today. We've got a Women in Architecture exhibition. We've got a panel discussion on Monday, which will be joined by Smita Singer, Libby Watts, and Tegan, and also Neverwood. So it's just a discussion in terms of different stages of women in architecture's careers. So starting off and being students, as well as being completely established. So that'll be sort of kicking off the events. That would be great. And then the second sort of Tuesday will be Parenthood in Architecture, and that's more of a cake and coffee, just to chat in terms of kind of how people have been getting on, and also experiences that they've had with trying to start a family, and kind of surviving lockdown too. So join us and share what your experiences have been. It's not going to be recorded, so it's fully kind of whoever's in the room to chat with. So it should be a really good setting. And then on Wednesday we've got an employment law workshop with Keir Hurst, just to talk through any law questions that you might have. And he's an employment lawyer, so he can kind of advise on what your rights are. So that one's not recorded either. And then on Thursday we're joined by interior design company Cream and Black to go through their journey as they've started a new interior design practice in Birmingham, and a store. So and they'll be talking about the parallels between interior design and women in that sector, as it's predominantly female, and how it compares to architecture. And last of all, we've just got laughing yoga, because why not? And that's it for me. I'll just hand you over to Matt, who will kind of talk you through the rest of it.
Thank you so much, Marina, for that introduction to the BA. I want to jump right into this talk, but first a couple of house rules. As I'm sure you are aware, this isn't our normal Zoom webinar, so you do have the ability to turn on your cameras and microphones, but I kindly request that you don't do that until we get into the breakout sessions, where we will be discussing several questions, well, 2 questions. So this is an interactive meeting, so please do speak up in the meetings, in the breakout sessions. We want to make sure that everyone gets an opportunity to speak. We have created a mirror board for people to kind of put their own thoughts down, but I will explain that a little later. So just so everyone is clued on the order of today, or this tonight event, firstly we'll have a little introduction talk by the Birmingham and West Midlands chapter of the Circular Economy Club, aka CEC Birmingham, which is voluntarily run by Debbie Ward and Claire Oldsaw and Lydia Dunton, who bring the CEC activities to our city. The CEC Birmingham network is open and free to join for anyone who is interested in learning more about and helping to support the transition towards circular economy. So a little more about our speakers. Unfortunately, Claire has had to send her apologies, but sends her regards and wishes us luck tonight. So Debbie, if you can pop up and join me. Debbie has spent nearly 20 years working in the built environment sector across a variety of marketing and business development roles. Her interests in sustainability and in more recent years, the circular economy has grown throughout the roles, accumulating in undertaking a PG certification qualification in innovation, enterprise, and the circular economy in 2018, increasing involvement with the CE agenda through work, and the CE led Debbie to set up, now I'm going to say this right, Debbie, Circlo, nailed it, Circlo Consult, to focus on the circular economy relating to training, education, and advisory projects. And Lydia, if you can pop up. Thank you. So Lydia is a sustainability manager at the University of Birmingham. Lydia's sustainability and built environment experience extends over 15 years. In this time, Lydia has worked at Argent in the regeneration of King's Cross, as well as co-founding a circular economy startup looking to change the way the built environment views material reuse. I will say, if any of you have any questions, please put them in the chat. We will hopefully answer them in the breakout sessions as we're jumping across to the different groups. But if not, we can always answer them at a later date. So Lydia, Debbie, thank you so much for coming. And over to you, really.
Fab, thank you very much for that introduction. I'm just going to do my best to share a screen, and hopefully you will all see some slides. Matt, if you could give me the thumbs up.
Yeah, that's all. It was. Yeah, that's all good. Perfect.
Brilliant. So, hello everyone. I'm Lydia Dutton, and Debbie will be coming in partway through to give a bit more of an overview of what the circular economy is. What I'm intending to do over the next couple of minutes is introduce you to the Circular Economy Club and what we are doing in the Midlands, but also kind of leading the way for Debbie to take you through what does the circular economy mean, what does it look like in the built environment, and then we'll do obviously the breakout groups and questions. And if we can't answer your question, we've certainly got over 6,500 circular economy professionals and organisations in 140 countries that are part of the Circular Economy Club. So if we don't have the answer, we're pretty sure that there will be someone in the Circular Economy Club that can support. So what is it, and why have we got one in the Midlands? So it's a non-profit global organisation that anyone can join for free that has an interest in the circular economy, with a vision that there's a new era where all cities worldwide have functioning circular economy models, setting the end to an age of waste, so kind of looking at kind of loops and closing loops. And we're aiming, the club itself brings circular economy to cities worldwide, bringing strong local networks, bringing people together, but also working with cities that the chapters are in as well. And there's three key areas of work for the Circular Economy Club. The first one is cities, so the establishment of chapters. There's over 230 volunteers across the world now, operating in 230 cities, bringing stakeholders together to look at circular models. Another key area of work is education, so providing skills and certification around the circular economy, and there's a new Circular Economy Institute as well that's come out of this programme too. And then finally, there's a piece around kind of experts and startups. So over 200 startups are being supported through the Circular Economy Club with mentoring, showcasing through the CEC as well. So they're the key ways in which we work. What we, as the, oh no, not quite there yet, with the CEC, there's featured members as well. So these are organisations, both businesses, consultants, networks, non-profits, and supporters that are all viewed by the Circular Economy Club as leading the way in addressing circularity, kind of either aspects of it or looking to bring together more circular ways of working. And none of these organisations are paying to be part of the CEC, and it's absolutely not a paid process, but it's about being recognised for actually moving forwards the concepts of the circular economy. So these are all organisations that are kind of are leading the way and worth looking into. So Debbie and I formed the Birmingham West Midlands Circular Economy Club in 2017, and we've since grown to around 200 subscribers. We hold about 3 or 4-ish events a year, and we look at taking part in Circular Cities Week, which is a global initiative at mapping what's happening in the region relating to the circular economy. We've been working really closely with the West Midlands Combined Authority, and I talk about that towards the end of this presentation. We've had a real focus on looking at circularity in the built environment, as that's where mine and Debbie's background lies, but we're also exploring, in our next event on the 25th of March is around circularity in the food sector and the supply chain. We've held a single supper so far, been thwarted by COVID last year, but we hope to have circular suppers in 2021, and then we also do event screening. So we've got a variety of ways of engaging, and hope that that we can do more as we move out into the world again and move away from Zooms. But that's a really quick intro into the CEC, and I will pass you on to Debbie, who is going to be sharing her screen separately now, I think. Excellent, Debbie, that's up and running.
Great, thank you. So I'm going to canter through quite a few slides that have got quite a bit of information on, and so also we're happy to share the slides and pick up questions afterwards as well. So a quick introduction on what the circular economy is about. I think a good number of the people on the event might know this already, but just to make sure everybody's kind of up to speed to a degree. Firstly, I think importantly, something we talk about quite a lot in our CEC meetings is joining the dots and making those connections between the Sustainable Development Goals, between net zero carbon, climate change action and the circular economy. They're not all independent, they are intrinsically linked and should be managed accordingly. And I think this World Green Building Council slide kind of gives you a bit of a taste of that, kind of looking at the different Sustainable Development Goals across the bottom, how within the built environment each of those is addressed by the Sustainable Development Goal. Number 12 is particularly where circular principles tend to sit, but they equally have influence and impact across all of those different areas. So this is from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation website, where there's a plethora of information if you don't know much about the circular economy and want to find out more. And there they define it as a new way to design, make and use things within planetary boundaries. And it's very much about moving from the current linear take, make, waste to a circular system, designing out waste and pollution, keeping materials at their highest value possible for as long as possible, and regenerative and restorative systems run on renewable energy. So a quick look at the 3 principles within that. So designing out waste and pollution. Basically, the principles of the circular economy are fundamentally about not doing less bad, but doing more good. And I think that's quite a different shift to people's view on sustainability. I think historically it's been very much, oh, if we just pollute a little bit less, or we just do this a little bit less, well, we've got to really turn that on its head and look very much about doing more good, which again comes back to that regenerative and restorative theory. I mean, looking at this particular designing out waste and pollution, apparently 80% of environmental impacts are determined at the design stage, which really demonstrates the importance of shifting mindset to ensure waste and pollution aren't created in the first place, rather than focusing too much on how to deal with them at the end of the process. Principle 2 is keeping products and materials in use. Again, very much about redefining value and ensuring, if you're aware of the Ellen MacArthur Foundation butterfly diagram, you've got the technological side and the biological. So resources and materials will be cascaded through the biological process and system and looped throughout the technological system. Principle 3, regenerating natural systems. In nature, of course, there's no such thing as waste. If you go into a healthy forest, everything is being used. They're kind of, in inverted commas, waste equals food. All byproducts are used as a resource or food, and that's the way we need to be designing our systems. So looking at some different circular business models, this is an image, a diagram from Accenture, which is quite often quoted when you're looking at business models. So examples of circular supply chains are companies that use mycelium, mushroom roots, for insulation panels. Notpla that uses biomaterials for plastics and packaging. Sharing platforms are organisations like Airbnb or the Library of Things concept. Products as a service. Philips have a circular lighting system where you pay per lux. Rather than paying for the physical lighting, you pay for the lux. Equally, Mitsubishi have a product called M-Use, where you lease lifts rather than buying them. Product life extension, examples like Caterpillar Reman, where they design engine blocks for remanufacturing a number of times before they're then taken apart for recycling, reuse and recycling from a component perspective. And lastly, recovering and recycling, which is design for disassembly, urban mining, and industrial symbiosis as examples there. So looking particularly at materials banks, this is a slide from a Circular Economy Club presentation from our Circular Cities Week in 2019. And one of the top tools that came out of this was the work done by BAMB, the Buildings as Material Banks Horizon 2020 programme. Just quickly, as I mentioned, for the Circular City Scan, if you're not aware of those, Circular Economy also has a plethora of information on their website, and also the Knowledge Hub, where there's lots of circular case studies. It's really interesting to go and have take a look at that. Looking at BAM in particular, for my following slides. So what's the definition of a materials bank? I think very, very simplistically, I kind of use the analogy of Lego bricks, which is a very naive and very simplistic analogy, but nevertheless, what we kind of need to aspire to, really, in the sense that a Lego brick can be disassembled and reused and reused and reused and reused, and is a very flexible and adaptable building block to use for many different things. Obviously, it's far more complex than that. But something that needs to be focused on, again, is looking at design. It's very much taking it back to that design stage, because if buildings aren't designed and components aren't designed in a reversible way, then it won't be possible to enable the harvesting of those materials or building parts. So again, looking at the BAM and what they did with their 3.5 years of their programme, they looked at circular building assessments, which involve materials passports and reversible building design. They looked very much at the circular value chains and about materials in buildings sustaining their value, creating less waste, and therefore using less virgin materials. Instead of having a journey towards obsolescence and demolition, your building acts as a bank for those valuable materials moving forward. Within the circular building assessment, obviously there was a lot of focus around BIM and the material passports and the information within those passports around the potential to reuse them, repurpose them, and have ideally, and there's some really interesting work that's been done, particularly in Holland, around having a time frame as to when temporary buildings are going to come down and those materials can then be reused moving forward. Reversible building design is again where designing the building to be easily deconstructed, where parts can be removed and added easily without damaging the building products, components or materials. And the shearing layers concept very much looks at this as well, looking at your building in terms of the facade of the building, the services, the structure, the spaces within it, and the timeframes of how long each of those things can last, and therefore enabling the building to be much more adaptable and flexible without damaging those different components, to be able to refurbish, adapt, and expand or shrink different areas of the building to enable it to last as long as possible. This is just another part of the reversible buildings work that BAM did, looking at an irreversible structure, partly reversible and fully reversible structure. Madasta on the materials passport side worked closely with BAM for some of their projects, and this is a live materials passports platform, and I'd encourage you to take a look at that. Passports as a concept is aiming to increase the value or keep the value of materials, products and components over time, to create incentives for suppliers to obviously have healthy, sustainable and circular materials, because you can have a building materials passport for something that's toxic and can't be reused. So it's really very much looking at that overall list of what makes a component or material circular to enable it to be reused in future, and also facilitate reverse logistics and take back of products, materials and components, and enable close interface with BIM and digital twins. So a few examples. One more recent one is Key Quarter Tower in Sydney, where 60% of the building's existing columns, beams and slabs were reused, which resulted overall in a reuse of materials with an economic saving of 130 million Australian dollars. I think that's one of the largest examples of reuse that I've seen. A lot of the other projects and examples tend to be much more add-ons to existing buildings or smaller projects, such as the Circular Retrofit Lab, which was done as part of the BAM project, which was a block of 8 student rooms that was taken back to the structure and refurbished and used as a living lab. They looked at lots of different examples of different systems, different facades, different materials, to really push the reversible building design concept. And the third and last example is the Circle Pavilion for ABN AMRO, where they very much set out as a new build extension to their building, to again have it as a living lab to a certain degree. They encouraged, where possible, for organisations to come in and test products within the building. But I know, for example, they use thousands of pairs of jeans as part of some insulation in the roof, as a proof of concept, to use textiles, recycled textiles as part of the installation. A lot of information about that project online. It's really interesting, a really interesting scheme. So handing back now to Lydia, just to do our final couple of slides.
Excellent, thank you, Debbie. If you wouldn't mind just going on to the next one. Thank you. So we just wanted to highlight, when I mentioned at the beginning that we've been working within the Midlands to try and get circular economy on the agenda and the radar for the area. We're really pleased that in June 2019, the West Midlands Combined Authority have both declared a climate emergency and worked over the period of 2019 to establish a green paper that both looked at zero carbon for 2041, but actually really specifically included circular and green economy in that paper and in that activity. The Circular Economy Club, myself, Debbie and Claire were actually involved in supporting the West Midlands Combined Authority in establishing the stakeholder engagement and supporting them in establishing the task force, which is now live, and a programme of work with useful projects has started to actually establish a route map for the West Midlands in the circular economy, and I think that's a really brilliant step forward for the region in considering circularity. Debbie, if you'd mind going 2 slides forwards, that would be super. Thank you. And then the final thing to finish on, really, and linking into the built environment and where circular economy fits in within London, there's now a requirement for large applications to actually have circular economy statements, which is making sure that applicants that are seeking planning permission are actually considering the strategies to facilitate the transition, but also having targets in there, and also kind of recognising the opportunities from greater efficiencies that come from saving resources. So I think from kind of the theory that Debbie's gone through to kind of the practical examples that are happening kind of dotted around to now actually having both the West Midlands Combined Authority really thinking about the circular economy, it being applicable in London through these planning permission requirements, that it's starting to really feed through. And I think something it's great to see so many people on this call interested in exploring it further and talking more about how it can be applied in your sector as well. That's it from us. We have the next slide, which, as Debbie mentioned, we're going to be providing these slides, is almost a resource bank of circular information within cities, and we've obviously signposted as well during this presentation to a number of places to go for further information. But hopefully that's been of interest, and look forward to the discussion that comes out in the breakout groups now. Thank you.